We're ready.
Are we live?
We are now, I think. Hold on, let me
All
check.
aboard!
All aboard!
A midnight meat train!
The Adventure Express. Bunny. 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 So how are you?
Good.
Awesome.
I'm ready to ride this train.
All the way?
All the way to hell.
All the way to its final destination.
Oh, man. All aboard?
All aboard? That was never said in the movie, sadly.
It should have.
I don't know who would have said that. I guess you don't really say that on a subway train, but
Mahogany, it should have been his catchphrase.
yeah. So that's Vinnie Jones's character in this movie, which they say like
God.
one time. Okay, so let's just get right into it, sir. Actually, wait. Before we go any further, we have our very first redeemed shout out. It's one of the rewards here. So shout out to Pinball Germany. Thanks for following and thanks for redeeming the very first shout out on the podcast. So
Yeah. Congratulations.
Congratulations and thank you
And
for
thank
watching.
you.
So
All aboard?
all aboard. So let's go on to Buddy Shotz. Near Newz.
So stupid.
Yeah. I mean, it's fun.
Yeah. How should we start this week?
Well, I guess I'll go ahead because I actually have a couple stories here. So you know how like I brought up about like the Amazon Lord of the Rings series they're gonna do?
Yeah.
Well, you knew about it and stuff, but it's gonna cost apparently $465 million for the first season.
Wow, man.
I was like, and it's like, I guess I didn't know this, but Amazon is committed to 5 seasons, and they would spend $1 billion to produce it. And I was like, who the fuck?
But Mike,
who the fuck
what
wants
if it
this?
sucks?
Well, who wants this? Like, they've already made like the movies. Like, what else do you need? Like, I don't know. I guess if you're really big into Lord of the Rings, any more content's fine. But I mean, after how Game of Thrones like bombed at the very end horribly. Like, I mean, I guess as long as they follow the books. The source material.
Well, are they following the books?
Actually,
I
that's a good question. I don't really know anything
they were,
about
like,
it.
making a new story in the Lord of the Rings universe.
Yeah, let me see here. Lord of the Rings brings to screens for the very first time the heroic legends of the fabled Second Age of Middle-earth history. Blah blah blah. Set thousands.
Yeah, that's not Lord of the Rings.
Okay, this epic drama set thousands of years before the events of J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. So.
Everyone loves prequels.
Huh,
be a
okay.
slam dunk.
So this isn't really Lord of the Rings or Hobbit. This is, like, set in the world of, like, that stuff. So, it literally
yeah.
there's going to be nothing to do with, like,
I would
the
honestly
characters.
be more excited for a remake of just Lord of the Rings,
I thought that's what they were going to...
story with such good characters.
I thought that's what they were going to
different
do was, like, take what they already did and then have somebody else do a TV series on it, like, instead of like, maybe do like The Hobbit as like a season and then have like one of the books as the second season, have one of the books be a third season, and then like Return of the King be like the last season. Like other than that, it's like, why the fuck would you, I don't know, 5 seasons of like prequel bullshit that like you said, I mean, now they can just make up whatever they want, so it's like,
Better be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go back to what I said last time. They should remake like flawed movies.
Exactly,
a
yeah.
better
I
version.
think that's what we talked about. It was just kind of like
Not like beloved classics.
right. Yeah, they're spending their time and money in all the wrong areas. Like, there's probably like 2 people that are interested in that idea. Like, that are like, holy shit, I can't wait to see that. It's like, fuck off. Maybe I underestimate.
They might be buddy boys.
Maybe I underestimate the Lord of the Rings fan base on how much they want more Lord of the Rings content that's set thousands of years before any of the beloved characters were even conceived of.
You're like, rings, rings, rings.
Instead of shots. Rings, rings, rings. So, my other news is Mad Mikkelsen has joined Harrison Ford in Indiana Jones 5. So
That's cool.
they're like, my thing is like, okay, so they're getting like some legit stars in this movie, like, you know, to star alongside Harrison Ford, and it's like the first one that's like straight up like fucking, at least as far as I remember, that's like being directed by someone that isn't really to do with like George Lucas or like Spielberg. So it's like,
Right.
but you know
what this reminds me of?
Star Wars
Totally.
all over again.
No, it reminds me of when they said Ray Winstone would be in Indiana Jones 4.
Who?
Like not the most well-known actor, but like a really awesome actor. Ray Winstone, the guy that played his buddy.
Okay.
Remember the
I've never
triple
heard of
agent?
I never heard of the guy before that movie, so that's why.
He was in Sexy Beast. Remember?
Oh. Yeah, okay, I remember his character now, but I wouldn't say he was like the highlight of the movie or anything.
No, but I'm saying like he's a Mads Mikkelsen level like guy.
Really? I'd say
Like
Mads
a very
Mikkelsen's-
well-respected-
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah.
He's not necessarily the most famous person in
Right.
the U.S., but is a cool cast member, I think.
Yeah.
But that character in Indiana Jones 4 totally sucked. So hopefully,
I mean, it was
they'll make the
also
same
written
mistake
by
twice.
George Lucas and fucking like Spielberg, and they like apparently lost their mind with that fucking movie. So hopefully they'll.
Yeah.
But then again, it's like I don't really have any hope for this movie at all. This is literally just me bringing this up because it's like another person they've added to it. So it's a piece of news for the fucking podcast. But I mean, the only hope that there is really is that, like, because it's being looked at by somebody completely different, that maybe, like, for the supposed last outing of Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones, it'll be something maybe a little bit, I don't know, a little different.
It probably won't.
Yeah, I mean, it'll probably be formulaic, just like all the other ones. So, the first three were pretty good, pretty legit. I mean, they're pretty much like every other adventure movie after that, pretty much tried to emulate in some way to capture the greatness, but then they couldn't, like, recreate that in the, those shirts I got us that were, like, Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull, but it was, like, a picture of him from, like, the first movie or some shit.
It's from the poster of the third
Yeah,
movie.
it's like, okay.
It's like, definitely not a bootleg.
But speaking of, like, something that, like, probably's gonna suck, so after, like, The Mummy fucking did horribly, I thought they were just gonna, like, completely, like, get rid of all the Universal movies, like the monster ones. But they apparently haven't, like, learned from their lesson, and not only that, but they are doing something that I am completely shocked about. But they are making a fucking movie based on Renfield from Dracula, like his insane assistant guy. That I'm like... So first you try to start off like a fucking monster verse with like The Mummy, which like is a fine... I don't know. If you're gonna do something like that, that'd be like if you were to start like the DC universe with like, Robin
Dude,
or
they're
something.
they're already doing this, so they're so out of ideas.
Yeah.
And they've remade things so many times that now they're making stories about like side characters.
Right.
They're doing it with like Nurse Ratched from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh,
like, she has her
wow.
own show now. They have a new show called Clarice about Clarice from
what?
Silence of the Lambs. It's like that. This is the new thing.
Yeah.
So expect it with tons of like side characters from well-known properties.
But I didn't know this, but apparently like they're doing a Wolfman movie and a Van Helsing movie, which I didn't know anything about that, but I was kind of like, okay. I mean, I like
to bring back Hugh Jackman.
I like the Universal like horror movies and stuff. Like I like those like monsters and like that world. But like a Renfield movie, like what the fuck? Like it's not like you don't have like a billion fucking properties like The Creature from the Black Lagoon, The Invisible Man. I guess I already just did that. Fucking Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman, Van Helsing.
Make up an original story.
Fuck that.
That's all I'm saying.
That's stupid, dude. Why would you want to do that when you have all this other shit that you could just completely... Like, you could hire a quote-unquote director and then fucking, you know... He would just totally direct the movie, a.k.a. he would just do what the studio tells him to do. And then when, like, the movie sucks, we rip on him, and then we're like, wait, this guy probably didn't direct the movie. Like in Kong vs. Godzilla, where we were like...
Yeah.
This and then we, like, look up, and his film history is actually, like, legit, so we're like, okay, this guy just took a paycheck. Which I can't blame him for, but, I mean, you know. Can't really...
I can and will.
You can't really call yourself a director if you shit your pants. Van Helsing
go directly to jail.
Van Helsing would work better as a TV series with a Monster of the Week.
Yeah, make Bruce Campbell Van Helsing.
Make Bruce Campbell the Monster of the Week every week.
Or that. Or both.
Make him Stan Helsing.
Make him Van Wilder.
Van Helsing is something that definitely can work on the screen. It's not that I'm not like that's not the thing I'm like shitting
Hugh
my
Jackman movie was awesome.
Right. It's not like I'm shitting my pants about that. It's that the thing that I think is stupid is like, why would you make a Renfield movie? Who gives a fuck? Like that's a character that's like he was never deserving of a fucking movie or like a second thought. He was a side guy, you know. It's like you said though, they're like. That's like a thing I guess they're doing now, so whatever. So what do you got, sir?
Okay, going back to Creed 3 again.
Okay.
So there's a new Michael Jordan was quoted with they asked him why Rocky wouldn't be in Creed 3.
They just said why, and he's like, what?
I'm going to read this quote cuz it's not inspiring at all.
I think I saw the same thing, but yeah, go for it, man. Definitely.
And I try not to curse on this show, but there was a
I
quote him.
I do enough cursing for the both of us, sadly.
Here's the quote. I think that Sly let it be known that he wasn't coming back for this one. But I think, his essence and his spirit. There's always going to be a little bit of Rocky within Adonis. But this is a Creed franchise, and we really want to build a story and this world around him moving forward. So it's always respect and always a shit ton of love. Nice. For what he's built. But we really want to push and navigate Adonis forward and the family that he created. I'm like, that's the best you got?
That's pretty much like a non-quote.
No better way to
somebody.
compliment someone than say, I have a shit ton of love for them.
Right.
That
means that's pretty much like, I have to say something nice about this person, but I'm pretty much like glad that they're gone, so this can just be all about the main character now. Which, honestly, if they knew they were gonna make a third one, which they probably knew they were gonna make, they should have just killed fucking Rocky in the second one or something. Like had him die of cancer. Or have him
die in the ring.
Yeah, or die in the third one. Like,
beat to death.
Die in the third one before it fucking happens so that, like, it can be like the whole Mickey thing where, like, Just something. I mean, because Rocky's already the Mickey fucking character in these Creed movies, so you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's nobody's like shocked by that, so it's like, why not? Like,
it shocks you.
Yeah, that quote, I read it and I was just kind of like, it's just one of those things where it's like, you read it and you're like, why? This is such a non-quote, you know what I mean? It's
Exactly.
Like, they asked him, and I'm sure he was just kind of tired of, like, getting the question asked, but at the same time, it's like, you have to say something, but it's like, so... like, there's so much love for him. It's like, okay.
That's all I got.
Yeah, I mean, I generally go on websites and kind of... I generally am able to find news now, if you want to call it that. It's kind of like... just, I mean, it's updates, so it is news, but... Creed 1 itself was a nice self-contained movie. It could have been just that. I already thought Creed 2,
yeah, totally.
Drago's son, was an asspool. Asspool.com. So... my recommendation for this week, if speaking of horror movies...
Why are we moving on to Recommendation Nation?
I'm glad that you said something because I didn't switch the thing over. Is Dead Space. And if anybody hasn't played that, you can just stick with I mean, the second one's not bad, but the first one's definitely the best one. It's pretty much like... Dead Space is what Resident Evil used to be. It, like, kind of reinvigorated the survival horror franchise. But then EA bought out the whole thing and, like, got their hands on it. And, like, the third one became, like, the biggest piece of shit ever. So they pretty much ruined that franchise, and then I think they got rid of that studio. So... it's a sad end for Dead Space, but it's essentially you're like a space engineer and you have to... there's like an outbreak and you have to use your... use weapons to overcome like these aliens that like pretty much you have to cut them up into a bunch of bits or they'll keep coming at you. Because it's kind of like the thing where like each piece is like self-contained to a degree. So...
yeah, that's a good one.
Great movie.
Very fun.
Or great movie. great game. Just it sucks that they had to pretty much take it and just shit on the franchise.
I don't think did we ever finish the third one because they kept making you play the same like areas over and over and over again to artificially extend the length of the game.
So the biggest thing about that game for me, well, there were two things. One thing, it was like there was this weird thing that like since it was co-op and the other ones weren't, it was like it seemed like they were trying to go for this not so subtle thing where like the main character was seeing this other person that was the second player possibly because he was never talked to in the cutscenes from what I remember.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
And, like, but, the biggest thing that sucked about that game is even if you played it in single player on the hardest difficulty, it was probably going to be easier than fuck because in the other Dead Space games, like, you had, you didn't have, like, all these attachments you could put on your guns, and the ammo that you had could only fit for certain weapons. Like in every other game, like pistol bullets for pistols for pistols, and shotgun shells for shotguns. But in this game, like, all the ammo was interchangeable. So, like, you would just put, like, explosive fucking mods on your guns and, like, blow away everything. Like, there was no challenge. And it was, like, it took away the horror aspect of the game. Like, the thrill, like... holy fuck, we're gonna get killed. There's just no, you know what I mean, like, back against the wall, holy shit thing to it. It was like,
Yep, that was pretty weak.
Yeah. But yeah, we never completed it. I remember trying to fight a really big thing in like on a planetoid at some point, but we just kind of like stopped.
Maybe, yeah, it's like enough's enough.
Yeah. Enough shit's enough. After a while, it starts stinking. Maybe we'll have to like go back and try to like play that game, or maybe we can find a better game to play.
No thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
We should do that at some point. We should start a series where we like go and play games like over time, and then we'll report on them on the podcast. Say what we think of them.
I'm up for it.
Hell yeah, brother. We'll have to do that during the week.
Start with Dead Space 3.
Oh shit! Dead Space 3.
Gears of War 7.
Fucking the Chronicles of fucking that dude from Lord of the Rings that like wasn't in the movie.
Tom Bombadil.
Tom Bombadil's fucking diarrhea fiend. Yeah. Cool. Okay, so that's my recommendation for the entire year. I'm out. See you guys later.
Cool. All right. See you at school on Monday.
What do you recommend? What do you recommend to this nation?
My recommendation, nation, for this episode is a movie from 2021 called Willy's Wonderland.
Yes, I've heard about this. I've seen the trailer for this movie. This has Nick Cage in it, which is already a plus.
Yeah, starring Nicolas Cage. Basically, it's pretty simple. He gets hired as a janitor to clean up like an abandoned Chuck E. Cheese type restaurant.
Yeah.
Or like Showbiz Pizza. Remember that?
Yeah.
But the twist is...
But...
all of the animatronic characters are possessed by like evil spirits, and he has to battle them one at a time to complete his task.
Yeah, like I thought this was like a really interesting thing, just because like this is a straight up rip off of like Five Nights at Freddy's, like the video game.
Yeah.
And I was kind of shocked that like, not that they own that like idea, but I was kind of shocked that like there wasn't more really said about this. It was like Nicolas Cage was in this movie, so everybody was just like, who gives a fuck if it's like a straight up rip off? They were just like, whatever. Because Nick Cage is so like, either like you love or you hate Nicolas Cage, but I don't know anybody that's ever said they hated Nicolas Cage. You know what I mean? Because all his performances are like, it's kind of like Jeff Goldblum. You know what you're getting into. Like they're both like crazy as fuck. Like not necessarily crazy, but they're hammy, and like that's what's good about him.
At this point, he's surpassed Kurt Russell for me as my favorite actor. Like even in this movie, like here's the unique thing: he doesn't speak in the movie. Like he has zero dialogue.
Yeah, that's.
But he's still like totally fun to watch, and like he screams and stuff during the battles, but he doesn't say a single word through the whole movie. That's
like Tom Cruise. He can't go a whole movie without doing that like yell that he does, where he's like, "Oh!" You're just like Tom Cruise and Nicolas Cage. I can just like see in my like mind what he like. You know what I mean? Everybody knows what he sounds like, so. Nice. Yeah, that's a legit one. I'll have to like actually sit down and watch it. I just have only seen the trailer and I've heard about it and stuff.
And like, it's funny because he's not phased by like having to battle these creatures.
Yeah.
He just like goes back to work as soon as he finishes like killing one. And all he wants to do is like he keeps taking breaks every like couple hours, and he wants like to play this pinball game. He's like obsessed with this pinball game. And
that's funny.
At one point, he's like dancing and playing pinball, and it's a great movie,
dude. There needs to be. Has there ever been a movie with Nicolas Cage and Kurt Russell in it? I think the thing is like knows. Kurt Russell doesn't do like as many movies as Nicolas Cage in general.
Not even close.
Like, Nicolas Cage is like
pumping out like 6 or 7 movies.
Samuel Jackson style. Like, that's another person that's like, both of them are like doing a shit ton of movies, but even if like they're in shit movies, their parts are always like awesome. You know what I mean? Whereas
99% of the time he's not phoning in a performance. Like, he's trying something unique.
Whereas, like, I don't know, this might be controversial to say, maybe not, but I feel like Harrison Ford, I don't think this is a controversial thing to say, though. I think everybody knows this, but like, a lot of times it feels like he might be in a good movie, possibly, but like, his performance is like so fucking shit now.
Dude, what are you talking about? He was the best part of Expendables 3. Drummer's in the house.
He's in the fucking... I was gonna say, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jet Li's private fucking off-screen romance was probably, like, the best part of that entire series. Where, like, you find out that they're, like, married now or something. I was like... It was an interesting thing to put in as a side thing, and, like... I love Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like, I don't care what anybody says, but he's, like, so charismatic that, like, I don't think I've ever seen him phone in a performance. Like, he's just always so happy to, like, be on set. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That's why, like, I mean, I don't hate Kurt Russell. I don't hate Harrison Ford. Like, I'm not trying to shit on him. I'm just saying, like, a lot of times you can tell that he, like, doesn't give a fuck. And to me, it's kind of like, really, dude? Like, why are you even acting? You know, like, obviously he's doing it for the money only. Kind of like sometimes with Bill Murray, you're like, okay, dude, fuck off. Okay, so...
And going back to our old buddy John Cusack from last week.
Oh, God,
like,
dude.
That dude hasn't tried in, like, 30 years.
Yeah, we'll have to do, like, a top 5 actors that don't give a fuck about being an actor list sometime. But I can't think of anybody else, so we'll have to save that for another time.
All right, is it time?
Maybe.
Woo-woo! All aboard?
For what?
The Midnight Meat Train!
So...
Eat some of that midnight meat.
So first of all, this is not a gay porno that we're going to talk about. So prepare yourself for that, either sadly or not sadly, depending on your stance on the matter. I
like my midnight meat rare.
I'm trying to think about how to go about how this came about, because I guess we'll just say, like, we saw the trailer for this movie years ago, and we've always...
When they displayed the title, like, we were laughing out loud in the theater because it was such a ridiculous title.
Well, it was one of those trailers that was like a non-trailer. It was like, it showed really nothing, and then, like, at the end, it just... Which is like... Yeah, it showed absolutely nothing, and at the end it said The Midnight Meat Train, and me and Wisey were, like, dying in theaters. We were like, what the fuck? And, see, I don't know when... So this movie came out around 2000... Or not... The movie was supposed to come out around 2008, so this could have been... Was this around when we went and saw Indiana Jones, you think?
Yeah.
Because we haven't seen
around that time we were seeing like every movie in theaters.
Well, me and you and Wisey didn't really see a ton together.
Yeah, that's true.
That was when we came out of Indiana Jones and we're saying it was like the greatest shit ever, and like Wisey was like looking around like, and then like after the fact we were like, wait a minute, maybe it wasn't so good. But anyway, so. Years went by, and, I never really thought about this movie again, except for we would bring it up every once in a while, joking around about it, like, the Midnight Meat Train and stuff. Cause
I saw it. I don't know why I wanted to see it, but at some point I did watch it.
You were just wanting to see a good porno.
It's like, with a title that dumb, I just gotta see it.
It's gotta be stupid. Right up my wheelhouse. So, yeah, like, years go by, and then we started doing this podcast again, and last week, or the week before that, Wisey redeemed his first fucking movie, and that was Midnight Meat Train as a joke.
What a jerk.
And,
not cool, man.
I will have to say this is, like, a lot better outcome than it could have been. At least I feel.
Oh, good.
Because we could have gotten, like, a fucking, like, abysmal... You know what I mean? Like
Space Jam.
Yeah, or, like, Baby's Day Out.
What? No. What are you talking about?
Matt.
The movie's delightful.
Delightfully sinful. Okay, so, yeah, so that's pretty much the history of this movie for me, at least. Like, like you said, you saw it randomly, but, the Midnight...
Yeah, I didn't really remember it. I think...
Yeah.
But I do remember, like, my expectations were so low.
Yeah.
I remember it being, like, decent, I guess.
Yeah, I was actually... Yeah, so, I guess before we get into it, I don't know, like,
So you loved it?
I didn't hate this movie. I didn't love this movie. But, yeah, I don't know. It was,
This is a reverse, for me, this was a reverse Law-Abiding Citizen, where the ending is by far the best part of the movie, I thought. And, like, really ends on a high note. Maybe you disagree.
No, I actually, I think that, like, there was so much in this movie that probably could have been cut out. That probably would have made the movie 100 times better for me, at least. Like, personally. But we'll get into that. We'll get into that a little bit later here. The Midnight Meat Train came out in 2008, and it's an American horror film, which I did not know that. I mean, I guess, from the trailers, but at the same time, it's like, it could have been anything. But I didn't know, but it's based on a Clive Barker short story, which, what can you do with a short story? I mean, to a degree, a lot, actually. But, it just depends on how good you are. So, here's, like, the rundown of this movie. So, there's a photographer that has an obsessive pursuit of dark subject matter. Not necessarily obsessive, it is, but the reason why it leads him to that is because he's trying to, like, finally hit it big as a photographer in the art world, because that's, like, his dream. But, having done that, it leads him into the path of a serial killer who stalks late-night commuters, ultimately butchering them in the most gruesome ways. When struggling photographer Leon Kaufman, Bradley Cooper, meets the owner of a prominent art gallery, he sees a chance for success that has so far eluded him. So that's actually set up by his girlfriend, which... Yeah. Determined to show the darker side of humanity for his debut showing, Leon crosses paths with Mahogany, Vinnie Jones, a serial killer who preys on late-night subway commuters. His fascination with Mahogany pulls him and his lover, Leslie Bibb, deep into an evil abyss. What?
Just the way you said that and that's written.
Yeah, So...
His lover is not Leslie Bibb. His lover is a character played by Leslie Bibb.
Right. Yeah, that is kind of funny they didn't put her name. I don't blame them. I don't really remember anything about her other than she, like, had sex with him and, like, yelled at him.
Well, I want to talk about that. Maybe we should start there.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, like, I'm going to go ahead and go... Should we go through the ending real quick? And
Yeah, sure.
So...
Until the ending happens, this movie makes no sense at all.
Yeah, and even then, there's a lot of shit that doesn't make sense at the end. But they had a good premise, honestly. I mean, it's definitely a short story that, like, the least amount of this movie that was fleshed out was the ending. Like, it was, like, the short story had the ending, like, and that was the ending, but that was the... Because I looked at, like, the synopsis for the short story, and it literally is, like... pretty much all the stuff they talk about at the end is everything that Clive Barker put in the end, but they didn't flesh any of that out. It was just kind of like here's a, because this has a twist at the end where they get on the train. Vinnie Jones is on there with Leslie Bibb and Leon Kaufman or Bradley Cooper, and the reason why Leslie is on there is because like her and her friend go to like get a camera back that Bradley Cooper had that has all this evidence of fucking Vinnie Jones killing these people, but he like takes it and they knock him out and leave him for dead or leave him alive, whatever. And then so they go to his apartment and grab it and or try to grab it, but she gets or like her friend gets taken to the fucking train. So pretty much she's on the train. Bradley Cooper gets on the train. They go to the end of the movie and the end of the line, and freaking at the end where it stops, all these like ghouls fucking come out and start eating these bodies that are like
demons.
Yeah, collected for the night. Yeah, and pretty much Bradley Cooper ends up killing Vinnie Jones's character, and Mahogany says welcome, which is something that doesn't make sense, and I'll say why here at the end. Well, I'll say it right now actually, because at the end, like, pretty much he kills him, and then like he looks over because he's killing him so that they can get out and go back home, him and his girlfriend. He looks over and like this dude that's like the conductor is like a vampire super strong guy for some reason, and he like pretty much essentially Bradley Cooper can't do anything to like stop him, and like he kills his girlfriend, and like fucking like then he pulls out Bradley Cooper's tongue, and he like essentially replaces Vinnie Jones in this movie as like the next guy that's like collecting these bodies every night for like
he's Mahogany now,
right? Dog. But like so I was gonna say he says welcome, but how the fuck does he say that if like he also had his tongue pulled out at some point? Like Vinnie Jones says nothing throughout this entire movie until the end when he says welcome, but it's not like it's like he's like welcome. So it's like, clearly you could, this man has a tongue. So,
it grew back.
Over years, it happened. So, what do you want to start with first in this movie?
I have a question. Why is he named Mahogany?
That just seemed like something that they, like, threw in the movie that they wanted to, like, have, like, a thing, like how in Kingsman all the characters had like names that were like the Round Table, like Lancelot, Galahad, like something cool like that, but they had no reason why. They were just like, we want to call him like a cool code name, but there's no reason for him to have a code name. He's not like interacting with any other characters. Like he's literally like killing people. You know what I mean? It's not like he has a day job where he goes to like a butcher fucking plant, but like, I mean, I guess maybe he has to have that name for like tax purposes, but like if you had a dude that literally went to like, dude,
I doubt Mahogany's paying taxes.
Well, he's working a job and he has a fucking like place.
You think he has a 401k?
There's a couple things about this that, like, don't make sense, because, like, if you had a dude that was literally doing all this shit for you, and he's doing it literally, like, you're not paying him, really, like, then my thing is, like, why should he even have to work other than at night? Like, his job should be to kill these people, not to do a fucking entire day job at a fucking meat plant, and then fucking come home and kill people. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
I thought that part was kind of stupid. Like, in retrospective.
Almost everything in this movie is really stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, it screams a lot of horror tropes to a degree, but almost to that, like, weird Miramax, like, horror, but I don't know, I can't really place it. It's got that, like, weird feeling to it that's, like, I don't know.
So what'd you think of Vinnie Jones in this movie? Like him and the character.
He wouldn't shut the fuck up. No, I thought he was great, honestly, as, like, a killer. But, I mean, he's literally just a big guy that doesn't say anything and that, like, attacks people and shit. You know, at first, I thought he was a robot at first. Like, I could see Vinnie Jones being, like, a Terminator, honestly.
Yeah, I've always liked him, like in Mean Machine, and, like, some other movies.
I think for me, he peaked at, like, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, and,
yeah.
Like, his two earliest movies.
Yeah.
I always get him confused with Jason Statham, and the reason why is because both of those guys were in those movies together, apparently.
Yeah.
So I always confused them, and but they want to.
I mean, he's a scary dude, and, like, he's good at, like, being really menacing.
Mm-hmm. He's an ex-football player, like, or not football player, but like soccer player or like
European
rugby player or something. Yeah.
I couldn't take him seriously in this movie for whatever reason. Like, I think he would, like, felt too realistic for me somehow. I don't know.
He was too spooky. He was gonna fucking get you.
He just seemed more like a dude to me. Like, they should have.
Well, they did. They
may have been better with a Pinhead type. Like,
they did make his character very like early on. They made his character very like vulnerable, because, like, within the first couple things, he, like, has issues with, like, killing somebody. Like, he, like, starts to malfunction, and then you see, like, he's, like, dying, kind of. Like, he's got, like, barnacles on him that he cuts off every night or something.
So what was with that? I didn't understand what was going on.
And he has to take
They're
these
like
pills because he's, like, coughing and shit. So he's obviously been around for, like, hundreds of years, because they have, like... Bradley Cooper goes to the library, as you do in these fucking horror movies, and he finds the exact article he needs. And not only that, but he thinks specifically that fucking Vinnie Jones is involved because it says Butcher killed somebody. Because there's never been anybody that killed anybody that was a fucking butcher. So he's like, he did it! And I'm like, so what's more likely, that this was somebody completely different, or, like, Vinnie Jones is possibly a copycat killer? You know what I mean? Like, no, it's the same fucking... It's the same fucking guy. Butcher!
Butcher linked to missing people.
Right.
It's like, well, how is he linked? Like, that's... like, did he kill them?
Well, not only that, but it doesn't say...
We need more detail.
It doesn't say that Butcher... Like, his profession was being a meat butcher. Like, it could have been, like... like, the butcher... Like, a killer was linked in missing people. Like, no shit. Don't diss Jason Statham like that.
Murderer linked to murdered people.
Yeah. I did put that Bradley Cooper, I put, like, within the first couple minutes was, like, I was like, I can tell is probably going to be, or not probably, but is going to be the best part about this movie. And I was right. It's Bradley Cooper. I mean, he...
Yeah, he's good. He's fine in the movie.
I mean,
like his character.
Yeah, I didn't either.
That's the biggest thing. His character is a total dork in this movie.
Not only that, he's definitely like a scumbag too at some certain points.
Yeah.
Like, he's filming. He was like this. Well, it's weird because, like,
his girlfriend should have been the main character. She was the only smart character in this movie, and kept like,
yeah,
shouldn't you be like working on this instead of like,
well, kind of
screwing around?
She was kind of smart.
Well, yeah.
they had to have the horror bullshit come in where, like, they go to investigate a place where, like, there's a obvious possible serial killer without it telling anybody where they were going or without any weapons or anything.
But the most ironic part is Bradley Cooper. In a movie about midnight meat, he doesn't eat meat.
Until he
only
does.
eats tofu.
Yeah.
Now that's ironic.
Yeah, until he does, so... What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, but that's when he's like,
Yeah, I didn't understand that either.
He becomes triggered or something.
Yeah, I was like... There's a lot of stuff that, like, you have to, like, make up your own guess as to, like, what the fuck is going on in this movie with, like... He becomes, like, fucking possessed or something. And he's, like, being willed by the fucking look of Jason Statham from a picture he took or something. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? There's a part where, like, he, like, saves this woman from being, like, apparently raped right in the middle of the fucking subway station. Like, it's not like they were even, like, hidden. They were on the steps where people walk up and down all the time. And these, like, three, like, thugs were, like, about to, like, rape her at knife point right there. And, like, right after, like, he took his work to this big art lady, and she was like, why didn't you take the picture of this fucking homeless person right as, like, they touched the fucking, like, one guy? That's what we want to see, the heart of fucking New York. So then, like, he's taken...
She also said, I haven't said whoa since high school. And I was like, I call BS on that.
Yeah. Not only that, but, like...
Stupid line.
Yeah, that was, like, later in the movie when she said that, and I was like, huh? But she's taking pictures of these people, like, raping her. Not rape her. He's taking pictures of them, like, about to, like, assault her and stuff. And, like, she looks over at him taking pictures, and that's when he, like, finally, like, steps in and says something. Like, he's like, hey! You know, he's, like, taking pictures as, like, the guy's, like, getting closer with a knife. He's like, what are you going to do? And he's like, why don't you come up here and find out? And he's like, that's it. Keep coming. That's it, baby. Yeah. No. Like Austin Powers style. I was like, what the fuck? He's like taking pictures of this dude. And he's like, have you ever been in a movie before? And then fucking like points to the like CCTV. So I called something that never happened. But I'm actually kind of surprised it didn't happen. But I didn't know what was going to happen at the end. So I said that this is like pretty early in the movie, but like after this scene, because after this the guy says, you're a dead man. But he said, so I'm calling what's going to happen is he'll eventually go into the train, like with Vinnie Jones, survive, and then like at the very end of the movie, like the gang guys from earlier will kill him. But that never happened. They're never seen again, so that was like something that like I thought was possibly going to be something, and was like kind of a thrilling thing about the movie to a degree, as far as like, you know, like, holy shit, what's gonna happen? He's going out in the night, and he's like walking around New York City taking pictures, and you know, sometimes there's some bullshit going on, sometimes there's not, but like it was kind of a like something that just never went anywhere. You know what I mean? Like I was kind of like, okay. But that's how he figures out that Vinnie Jones might be related to these killings, is because he saved this lady, and then she gets on the train, and then like the next day it's like instantly it's like she's missing. And I'm like, okay, how is she instantly in the paper if this happened like 2 hours ago?
And why is it front page news that like?
Well, apparently you find out that like she was like a model, but like Bradley Cooper didn't know that. I'm like, how bad of a fucking photographer are you if you don't know anything about like these people? Like, I don't know. I guess like there are different kinds of photographers, but still, he seems to photograph a lot of like people. So like if he was a wildlife photographer, I would understand, but he's like literally that's his whole thing. Is like photographing people. So
yeah, that's a good point.
This movie was interesting with the kills because they were totally like cartoony to a degree. Because there was like Vinnie Jones hits this lady's head with a hammer and it like spins her head around.
Well, not only that, but Ted Raimi.
Yeah, I actually have a thing. Yeah, he's in this movie, which was legit, but then they like it like CGs because his like fucking hits him in the back of the head and his fucking eyeballs pop out of his head. Like, not just like...
That was the biggest laugh in the movie.
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
I was like, what the fuck is this?
And that's what made... When that happened...
Yeah.
I started questioning, like, is this really a comedy?
Yeah, it was...
Because it was, like, that moment was so comedic, the way it was filmed, like, the way it was in the movie. Like, his eyeballs pop out in slow motion, and his friends get, like, blood sprayed in their faces, like Monty Python style.
Well, there was, like, a part, though, like, earlier in the movie, I think, or maybe it's later, where, like, he's, like, cutting he's cutting their hair, he's, like, pulling out their teeth, he, like, rips out their eyes and, like, pulls off their fingernails, and it's, like, I had to, like, not watch it, because it was, like, pretty, like, it's not, like, Hostile style, but it was, like, they weren't shying away from it. But then you have shit like this where, like, he hits him in the back of the head and their fucking CGIs pop out. And I'm like... like, obviously that destroys every, like, part of this that's, like, super gruesome you were trying to go for. You know what I mean? Like...
Yeah, you can tell that someone was like, we gotta make this extreme.
Yeah, like that part where he was like...
Like, have him cut off these mushrooms on his chest and put them in jars for some reason.
Yeah.
It's like...
It's very at odds. Like, there's that part, and then there's the part where, like, they go to investigate Vinnie Jones' apartment, and it's very, like, Scream, or... Not Scream, but, like, you know what I mean? Like, the horror trope where, like, fucking... they're doing something that they shouldn't be doing, and they're probably gonna get caught, and fucking it's just so... You know what's gonna happen kind of shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just so at odds. It's weird. Vinnie Jones is, like, super strong. He, like, in that same scene, he was able to decapitate the lady that was with Ted Raimi and that other guy with a hammer? Which I was like, what the fuck? How?
He hits really hard.
Yeah. Which I was like, okay. That's when I was...
like a super hammer.
Yeah, after the CGI shit, I was just like... Because the first one was, like, just kind of fucked up, but this was like, okay, this is, like, not... Like, they go for the gore, but it's not, like, I don't know. It, like I said, it's like mixed messages, and then once they do the CGIs, it's like, okay, well, this is definitely not like a hostile situation. Bradley Cooper follows Vinnie Jones, the Midnight Meat Train, and he works, or the Midnight Meat Man, and he works at meat cutting plant. So that was, interesting. So,
and they have a chase scene, like, in and amongst all the beefs.
Yeah, honestly, not only that, but, like, he was, like, flipping his shit, but, like, I was like, why is he even running? Like, did he really think that this guy's gonna kill him if he's, like, right next to all his coworkers?
And that's when I was like, Bradley Cooper just sucks.
Yeah.
Like, he's trying to, like, be, like, inconspicuous, but, like, he's not doing a good job at all. He's just, like, standing right next to him taking pictures of him.
It's reminding me of, what's-his-face, Jamie Foxx in fucking, what's it called? That one movie you were just talking about earlier that we watched. Yeah, where he's like, Bradley Cooper's trying to be like the fucking police here. And I'm like, and he's doing like a horrible job of it. I'm like, what the fuck?
Plus he's blowing his chance with the big art, big art job.
Because, he just gets like super obsessed with Vinnie Jones's character. And I'm like, is this really...
I want to be like, dude, listen to your girlfriend. She's like, shouldn't you be working on the actual thing? Like, you're almost out of time.
He turns into like fucking, like Charlie from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and is like goes completely insane with like these conspiracy theories that he has on the floor. He has all these pictures spread out on the floor, and he's like, see, fucking Vinnie Jones is fucking killing these people, but I have no fucking proof. And I'm like, okay, dude, this maybe turned into fucking dog shit.
with all the animated like CGI gore and stuff in this
Yeah.
movie, it reminded me of. I remember with the Peter Jackson commentary for I think Dead Alive, or maybe The Frighteners. He was like, "Someday someone's gonna make like the best splatter movie ever with all CGI." And I was like, "Man, that's so not true."
Yeah.
Like Peter Jackson he made the best like gore movie ever,
Right.
and it was no CGI. If you look at Dead Alive versus this movie, like there's no comparison.
Right. Yeah, I don't think anybody would ever definitely like yeah. Cuz it's weird cuz I don't even think like I mean this movie does qualify as like a horror movie obviously and it does have gore in it, but it's like the gore is just not even like they could have made this movie without gore honestly because the gore is so it has like zero weight to it. Like
Yeah.
So it's
Or
like,
even like Hellraiser. Hellraiser like puts
Yeah.
this movie to shame in that department too.
yeah,
You can tell that's kind of what they were going for.
Hellraiser, yeah. I'd say with Hellraiser though, like after like I don't know. For me, I actually wrote down a thing there where I was just like, I was like 33 minutes into this movie, and I was just like, fuck. Like there was a point at which I was kind of like, yeah, check the time, and it's only been 33 minutes that have gone by. That was after like
it's a kind of a chore to get.
That was after like the conductor said he was disappointed in Mahogany, and I was just like, okay, what is this shit I'm watching right now?
It's because nothing makes any sense up until the very ending. Like why? Like,
Yeah.
why is he hanging up all these bodies? Why is this train
Yeah.
just like keep driving around all day?
Even then, it doesn't make any sense because it's like there's got to be better ways to do this. Like,
Yeah.
Bradley Cooper was I said his cop in a field. They have sex. Yeah, so he has like sex with his fucking girlfriend in like her employer's like restaurant or something. I think it was. Yeah, the barnacles that he cuts off his fucking body.
Yeah, that was to me the grossest thing in this movie. Like that.
Yeah, I just didn't understand
That's
it
what I
too
don't-
because that was
Yeah, it made
I think that's
no
like
sense at all.
the most like disappointing thing about this movie is because like the best parts about this movie are like never really expanded on, like fucking the shit at the very end, like there's like throwaway lines about it, and then fucking why he has all those things on him, like you know, like is he like I thought it was going to be something to do with like Cthulhu, like an old kind of thing like that, where like the people are like fish people or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I didn't know what the fuck it was all about, and they never explain it. It's just some shit they put in the movie. I'm sure that they thought was going to be fucking great, but you kind of have to like. I mean, you don't have to explain everything. I mean, you look at like Aliens and Predator, and like too much explaining kind of ruins the mystique of things. But like setting things up and then never really like explaining anything, kind of like
Yeah, and when you have something that's so silly as this,
yeah,
like
it's also contained. I don't really think they thought that this was gonna be like the Midnight Meat Train fucking cinematic universe. You know what I mean?
oh,
like,
dude. Now I wish there would like Midnight Meat
The
Train 2,
Meativerse?
Midnight Meat Plane.
sponsored by fucking Arby's. We have the meat.
Dude, where's my Midnight Meat sequels?
Midnight Meat plane. I'm like train versus
Midnight
car,
Meat Boat.
train versus boat. Let's see.
Midnight Meat Blimp.
Actually, the weirdest part about this movie was like or not weird, but like I don't know, it was like weird photo shoot where he's trying to shoot her, but he's crying. Like she was like, so essentially she's like, you're crazy, you know, you need to stop with this bullshit, fucking shoot what you love. And he's like, I love you. And then he starts shooting her. And he's like shooting her, and as he's doing it, he's like, every time he clicks the camera, he has like thoughts of like Vinnie Jones or like the murders or like other shit. And he's just like, and he's like, I'm sorry. And then she's like, because she's like taking her clothes off while this is happening. and she like takes her bra off, and then fucking he's like crying, and he's like, I'm sorry, and then she like runs into her room and shuts the door, and then he like, I think, leaves. I can't remember.
Yeah, that was unsettling. But one of the most unsettling things to me in this movie was the friend character. What did you think of that guy?
You mean the guy that like gets fucking gutted at the end, which was like funny as hell? Like I thought that was like
that dude just was weird to me.
I thought that was so goofy that like that happened too at the end of the movie, like, but like that character, it was so
he didn't seem like he wanted to be friendly.
Yeah, to me he just seemed like, hey, let's put in this is the up, you know, like up, what's it called? Like the guy that's like all, he's your friend, but he's almost like Nathan Lane, where he's just like, you know what I mean? Like not kind of like he's better than you, but he's your friend, but he's like, this is what is what we think New York people are like, that are like totally conceited and stuck up. There was also, I wouldn't have been surprised if like he was like gay, because of course like in 2008 they were like, oh, this is what like a gay person is, right? Like, you know what I mean? Because he was a friend of theirs, but like he has no like love interest, and he's not like effeminate, but he's like always hanging out with like what's his face's like girlfriend sometimes. So I'm like, I don't really understand, because they had the two characters in this movie that were like, besides Bradley Cooper, that were like the males, were her boss, which was like, hey, I'm the New York guy, fuck tofu, meat all the way, if my customers see this, they'll fucking blow a gasket shit. And then you had that guy that was like the opposite of that character, and then Vinnie Jones was just like a Terminator. So, and that was like the two kind of characters, but neither one of them had a character. They were just like, so you're going to do an accent, you're not going to, and you're going to be stuck up, and you're going to like work for a living at a fucking greasy spoon. Those are your characters. Go. And then like Brooke Shields was like the Cruella de Vil character that kind of had like a heart of gold. Maybe. I don't know. They didn't really do much with her other than she was in a couple scenes. Is this a part?
Since so much of this movie takes place in the subway,
yeah,
I have to ask, what are your thoughts on Subway sandwiches?
They're good. They're pretty good. I don't know. I like the Bellas. I've had theirs before. If you're specifically talking about
Subway, the franchise.
Oh, not a fan personally. I've had them before, but the only thing I've ever got from there that was like halfway decent was like their meatball subs. But I tend to not go to Subways because there's better alternatives now, like for like a Subway style sandwich. You know what I mean? I guess what you would call that, a Subway. What would you call a sandwich like that? I guess a Subway sandwich.
Like a submarine sandwich?
Yeah, submarine sandwich, yeah. Yeah, I don't.
My memory, like back a long time ago, Subway was really good, but I don't know if that's like it actually used to be good, or when you're younger, your tastes aren't as refined. We weren't eating quail eggs and stuff back when we were little.
We weren't having all night diarrhea. Yeah, I think it was probably also, like, I mean, back when we were younger, there weren't a lot of alternatives. I mean, Quiznos came and went in the time that I was really into Subway. You know what I mean? They're not even a thing anymore. But in there's place, I mean, there's, like, if you really want, like, a good sandwich, like, you know, there's all kinds of places, like I said, like, DeBella's is a place. There's, like, Jersey Mike's.
Submarine House in Dayton.
Yeah.
Did we ever go to one of those?
I've never heard of it till just now.
Oh, man.
There's, you know, fucking McAllister's and a bunch of other places like that.
I'm getting hungry.
So, There's what is it, like, the place that Brock Lesnar's all about, fucking Jersey, or not Jersey Mike's, but, I don't know. The owner kills innocent animals in the savannah. I can't remember the fucking name of the place. Jimmy John's. Yeah, I don't know. I'm getting hungry too, honestly, talking about it. I didn't eat before I got on here.
Give me some of that midnight meat.
Yeah. So there's actually a point where, like, these kids are, like, walking through the fucking, like, subway train asking people to, like, buy candy. And they go up to, like, Vinnie Jones and they're like, candy? You want to buy some candy? Come on, buy some candy. Don't be a cheap ass. I mean, they don't say that, but, you know, they're like, come on, please. And he, like, reaches in his bag and he pulls out a single $1 and, like, buys candy. And so my thing is, like, so I guess this guy is, like, still, you know, he's still human, but there's something about him that he's not human, you know what I mean? So Bradley Cooper takes over for him at the end of the movie, but, like...
And he had to cut his hair and dye it, like, the same color for some reason.
Well, not only that, but, like, Bradley Cooper, like, when you become this guy, like, what's, like, stopping him from being like, okay, yeah, you know, that's fine, I'll totally do it, like, give him a thumbs up and, like, writing it out and shit, like, you know, that's totally fine, I'll do it, and then going to, like, the FBI and being like, dude, there's some fucking shit going down, like, they ripped out my tongue, all this other shit happened, you know what I mean? Like, he just instantly became a fucking Terminator for them, like, there was no reason for him to do that, like, they killed his fucking girlfriend that he was gonna marry. And he instantly was like, okay, now we're fucking, you know, all friends. So I'm assuming there's some magical bullshit involved, because there's a part where he sees a picture of Vinnie Jones and, like, gets all geared up and goes to kill him. Or, I don't know what he's doing, honestly. It looked like he was going on the train to become, like, his assistant, honestly. Because he looked like a fucking murderer. I was like, what the fuck is going on? You know what I'm talking about? It's like...
It made no sense.
They put, like, they hooked him up fucking through their Achilles tendon. I was like, is this necessary? This is fucking disgusting.
So extreme.
Yeah. Vinnie Jones sees Bradley and he's like, yeah, baby. Monster molests him. Oh yeah, this is the part where, like, he goes to the end of the train or the end of the line for the first time, but you can't see anything. But, like, they have him, like, hooked up, like, tied up or whatever, and these monsters come out and, like, molest him, and they put, like, a symbol on his chest. And I'm like, that still doesn't really, like, that doesn't really, like, explain anything, because Vinnie Jones has the same symbol, but it's never said, like, hey, if you have the symbol on your chest, you have to do this, or, like, what this represents. It's just literally they come out and carve it on his chest. You know what I mean? It's another thing in this movie that they set up that they just kind of didn't do shit with. It was like, I don't know.
Maybe when they made, like, the first draft of this movie, it came in at, like, 3 hours long, and they're like, oh crap, we gotta get a bunch of stuff out. That's kind of what it seems like.
Oh my god, a 3-hour version of this movie. Fuck. Oh my god. Dude, when I saw, like, an hour and 40 minutes, I was like, oh, this isn't bad. But then I got to a certain point when I was just like... But then I got kind of invested again when, like, they started uncovering, like, the stuff about, like, Vinnie Jones being, like, super old. I was like, okay, this is kind of interesting. I guess we'll see where this goes. You know what I mean? Like, maybe there's some it's like some society, or he's, like, some kind of cool, like, really old monster, or, like... But the really cool part of this movie that's touched on in the last couple seconds is, like, over. So it's like, fucking bullshit. So I actually wrote out, like, an entire paragraph about this not making any fucking sense part. And I don't know if you know what I'm about to say here. Like, can you think of a part that just absolutely, out of all the things we said, makes the least amount of sense? Or no?
I can't single out anything from all the nonsense.
Okay. So Vinnie Jones. So before this, Bradley Cooper's girlfriend and like his friend are like, worry about him, and Vinnie Jones leaves his apartment, and Bradley Cooper's girlfriend and his friend go to the hotel where Vinnie Jones lives, like to get the camera. This is after like he comes back and he has like the fucking symbol carved into his chest, and they're like, we have to get this evidence so that we can show the police, and everybody will know he's not crazy. And okay, whatever. So the only issue is, they saw a picture of like Bradley Cooper taking a picture of him going into his like where he lives, which is like this hotel. But the only issue is like they don't know what floor he lives on or what room he lives in. So you see Vinnie Jones leave his apartment or like room, and then it pans to like another hallway, which is in like connecting to that hallway he walks down. And they're fucking right there, so they knew exactly what fucking like what like floor he lived on. But not only that, but like he walks away, you don't see them peek out or anything, but then they go to the exact fucking door, and there's like 3 or 4 doors down that hallway. So like, how the fuck did they know what floor like he was living on and like what door like to Jimmy open? You know what I mean? Like, were they just gonna like break into all of them? Like, I saw this,
telling you, man,
and I was like,
more deleted scenes.
Well, I was like, what the fuck is this? Because not only that, but
there's
like
a 3-hour version of this movie that makes sense.
So they're doing this,
like release the Snyder cut, a Midnight Meat Train.
Dude, fuck off with that. I couldn't stand another minute.
That 3-hour cut?
I couldn't stand another minute of this movie, dude. Like, unless they cut out everything.
Finally understand how they knew exactly how to get into his.
Unless they cut out like the entire middle of this movie, where like they did unnecessary extra kills. I was like, that was the worst part of the movie for me. Like, because it was just more bullshit. It was like, dude, we get it. Like, fuck off. This isn't an actual horror movie. Yes, people were being killed, but this isn't a fucking horror movie. This is like what like people writing a committee horror movie think is a horror movie. Like,
I think that's what happened. I think
like,
that the studios must have messed with it somehow.
Yeah, I mean, there was
something
stuff
right.
I read that like the director was like super not happy with like how they like, I guess they apparently didn't even really show this movie in theaters at one point.
Really?
Yeah, they just kind of pulled it. So that's why like I don't remember anything about this movie other than the trailer. But like, so back to that scene, like I thought, because when they showed them together, I'm pretty sure that when like Vinnie Jones' girlfriend and his friend meet up, they meet out outside of the building in daylight, or like at night, when he would be like busy. Because Bradley Cooper said specifically to her, like, he goes to the train all night. So they're like looking around and shit, and it's fucking light outside when like Vinnie Jones shows up. He shows up at the fucking apartment, and I'm like, okay. So not only that, but like, was he just taking a day off work, or what the fuck?
No, he's
like,
gotta change his clothes into his day job clothes.
Like, you think so? It was so early that fucking they were there all night, or was it that like they went right when he like left, and then he's like, shit, I forgot, I gotta like change to fucking my other clothes randomly. Like, what?
I can't.
Exactly, that's how good it was that fucking we can't explain. It was just one of those scenes in a fucking shitty ass horror movie where a dude shows up again, like he has no reason to come back and try to kill the people or attack them, but he just fucking knows. And I'm like, fuck off, dude. Like, that's why I hate a lot of horror movies, dude. They're just so fucking shit. Like, come up with a good idea, come up with a story that's awesome, and then fucking absolutely ruin it by, like, nonsensical, like, making no sense fucking logic of your fucking movie. Like, fuck off.
Yeah, and I agree with you on all that, but I do think the very ending was really cool. Like the hellscape.
I mean, that's the problem.
There's a million skeletons.
This movie was
and,
cool for like 5 seconds. And they never talk about it. It's just literally a throwaway thing
you
they did.
You can't talk with your tongue cut out. Or can you?
This movie fucking sucks. I did a 180. I hate this movie.
It's not great.
Just talking about it, I'm like, it's pissing me off. It's like... Because it's like, there was potential there. They had fucking Vinnie Jones and Bradley Cooper, for fuck's sake, in this movie, and like...
Bradley Cooper with the big tooper.
Yeah. The fight on the subway train was kind of out of control. It was like, holy fuck, dude, what is going on right now? So, like, he, like, shaves their bodies and, like, cuts off their fucking, like, cuts out their eyes and all this bullshit. But, like, Vinnie Jones wasn't able to do that because Bradley Cooper, like, threw him off the train. And then they just come in and eat the bodies anyway, so they, like, really give a shit or not. Like, like they seem more like animals. Like, totally. To me, like, I was kind of confused. Like, yeah. That's, like, that should be the tagline for this movie. To me, I was kind of confused. But this movie could have been expanded on so much more if, like, literally the last, like, 30 minutes of the movie was underground and they were, like, talking about, like, you know, like, I don't know, just, like, more stuff to do with, like, discovering what was going on underground and, like, possibly, like, was the conductor, like, he apparently serves these things, but, like, why? If they were, like, sophisticated, like, say, like, vampires or demons that literally could talk and were, like, you know, they had power above him and, like, he couldn't do anything, that would make sense. Or if, like, they were his pets and, like, he was their, like, master. Like, he was the, like, alpha, like, the vampire, the lord demon kind of thing. But, like, and it's, like, it's also shown that, like, the police are in on it. Like, the police chief, like, also, like, serves these, like, creatures. Like, but it's never said what role they play other than older than you can know, they've been around forever. Like, who gives a fuck? Like, just because they've been around forever, what does that have to do with anything? Like, they're just, like, fucking, like, hobos. They're, like, running rampant through the fucking train, like, a bunch of, like, Nazguls and shit. Like, they're so fucking... You know what I mean? They're just... I think it's kind of like...
I thought they were pretty cool.
I mean, it's kind of one of those things where it's like... I don't know, like, they didn't show really a lot about them, which was fine. But at the same time, not explaining anything or showing more about them was, like, kind of ruined things. Because it was like, why? Like, why does this exist? Like, it's a cool thing, but, like, why are these people that literally are above these fucking, like, rat creatures fucking, like... They're not rat creatures. They don't look like rats at all. They look like you said, demons. They're like darkish looking. At least from the one thing I saw, it was like their skin color was like charcoal black. Like that kind of a thing. Like, why serve them? Is there like a master of them that's like a Cthulhu thing, and that's like his kids? And if you don't serve it, you're gonna fucking get reamed. You know what I mean? To appease it, like. I just would have liked some sort of information. They made up all this other bullshit for this movie because this is a short story, like I said, by Clive Barker, that's like literally like there's really just no information on it as far as like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let me see.
I'm
here.
fine with the demons. I got just enough of what I wanted at the end to.
It just
end
ruins
on a
this
positive
movie,
note.
honestly.
I think it saves the movie from being not great.
No. I think it was a
Yes.
cool idea. It just they didn't
Yeah.
do anything with it.
It did all they needed. For me.
I mean, I don't know. I can't, like... I think that, like, if they had actually, like... Like, I can see where you're coming from, but it just doesn't add up. Like, as far as, like...
Yeah, no, it doesn't add up, but it takes a movie where like is total nonsense, and it at least says, oh, it's because there's demons. It's because they're feeding them to demons. Okay. Good enough.
I mean, not really, because I went through, like, an hour and 45 minutes of shit to get to something that was okay at best.
Dude, Ted Raimi's eyeballs popping out like was worth the price of admission for me. Like, that's a great movie moment.
It is a great movie moment, but it's not an hour and 45 minutes worth to see that.
True.
So, like, I'm just trying to see here, like, because there is a summary about this fucking thing, but, like, apparently all the extra shit that they, like, came up with for this movie, like, a ton of it was, like, to do with, like, you know, like, the characters that didn't have anything to do with, like, the demons or whatever. Or the creatures. Like, I mean, yeah, that's the big shocker at the end of this movie. They're fucking creatures that they feed these fucking, what, like 6 or 8 bodies to at the end of the night. But the thing is, like, how many of these creatures exist? If there's, like, way more than that, then why the fuck are they only giving them 6 or 8 a night? They're probably, like, starving to death. I like the idea of all that shit, and I like where they went with it. It was just kind of like I don't know.
All right, there you have it.
Yeah, I don't really know what to say about it. It's like, I mean, it's like, I feel like, so like, I finally found the thing, like, this is the actual, like, short story thing, but a man named Mahogany begins killing people in New York subway trains, identifying as a butcher in pursuit of fresh meat. Office worker Leon Kaufman, so in this one he's not a fucking, like, photographer, falls asleep on a late night subway train to Brooklyn and awakens to discover Mahogany has killed people in the neighboring car and train conductors are cooperating with him. After Kaufman kills Mahogany in self-defense, the train arrives at a secret station where strange creatures board and consume the bodies. The creatures, the City Fathers, are the secret rulers of New York for centuries, claiming they made the city and have lived there since before the first humans of America. They pull out Kaufman's tongue to ensure his silence, recruiting him as their new butcher, tasked with bringing them fresh meat. So, essentially, like, the short story does a better job of explaining what happens in this movie than the movie does in explaining what happens in this fucking movie for an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Because they don't say anything about, like, the fucking creatures being any sort of intelligence or anything. They're just like fucking rabid dogs. They were eating like dogs.
They were.
Or being like the City Fathers ruling New York. claiming they made the city. Dude, these creatures couldn't fucking, like... Oh my god. Like, that's the thing, is, like... I think it's kind of like the difference between, what's that one movie with, Will Smith? That book I read, by, like, Matheson.
I Am Legend?
I Am Legend, where, like, in the book, you know, you find out he's, like, the last living human. And that's why it's called I Am Legend, because, like, he is a legend, because he's the oddity now. Everybody else is a vampire. And, like, he's brought out in front of all these vampires, and, like, they're intelligent. But in, like, the fucking, like, Will Smith version, they're, like, CG fucking, like, zombie monsters or something. And, like, my thing is, like, I think that, like, if... I feel like in the original short story, there was more of a intelligence to them. Which would have made a little bit more sense. But, I don't know. They do whatever the fuck they want. They got their money. Who gives a fuck?
They look like Bam Margera's.
I didn't pay for this, though. I watched this on fucking Tubi. So I had to watch it with commercials. But, which was fine, though, because I found out that Descovy has most common side effects of diarrhea.
Ah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the cheer for your midnight meat woes. Thanks, Broadcaster Gaming. I don't know. I feel like I'm going on about this one part forever for no reason. It's not going to change.
Yeah, I think we nailed this review.
It's not going to change the fact that yeah.
They were smart enough to get Mahogany to do their bidding. They're geniuses.
Yeah. Shit writing. Clive Barker needs to just, like, adapt his own shit, because these people don't know what the fuck they're doing. Not saying this is, like, the greatest fucking short story ever, but, like, it sounds way cooler than what happened in the fucking... It's essentially what happened in the movie. It's just, like, maybe I like it because it's shorter. I didn't have to wait an hour and 45 minutes to watch some art guy with his camera fucking, like, try to get all these fucking shots and then give up on that and obsess after this fucking, like, Terminator looking motherfucker. Like, I was like, dude, fuck. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any other notes for this movie?
Nope. God, got through everything I wanted to talk about.
You didn't really have any notes for this either, did you?
I did.
Well, when a movie's really good, you have a lot more notes. So I don't blame you. I feel like there's not really much to talk about with this film. I mean, I went on a rant there for a while about how they could have, like, made this movie better, but I mean, what the fuck? Who cares? At the end of the day, would you recommend this movie?
I would say no.
Yeah.
Too many other good horror movies out there.
Yeah.
This one. Watch Hellraiser instead. It's awesome.
Maybe just the first one.
Yeah, definitely just the first one.
That's a series that, like, I think that's the thing with horror movies. I like horror movies, but so many of them go into, like, franchise territory, and then they, like, become the most... I don't think I've ever seen another movie genre that's more boring than horror movies can get. Sadly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. Fucking Hellraiser. We still never watched the other ones. Remember when we used to watch all of them? That was back when we used to, like, love watching horse shit, and we would watch, like, Zombie 6, like, Birds and all that shit, where it wasn't even, like, a zombie film. It was, like, Killer Birds or some crap.
Well, they got so bad that it was like, why are we doing this
Right,
anymore?
It's like, we're not gonna give us, you know, it's not like some chick's gonna pop out and give us a blowjob or some shit for watching the movie. Who gives a fuck? Okay. So our next movie is a movie that I can guarantee, I've never watched it before, but I can guarantee it's going to be a billion times better than this fucking horse shit we watched. It is...
Midnight Meat Plane.
It's not that movie, thank God. It's I'm tired. All this meat on this motherfucking plane. I'm like, huh? Okay, what's our next movie? Movies nominated. Donnie Brasco. So, never heard of that. I've never seen that movie. I've heard of it, but I can guarantee I'll like it 100 billion times better than this fucking horse shit.
Yeah, it should be interesting to talk about.
We still don't have a movie nomination for the week after that, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Cool. So,
right.
Any last words for this fucking deplorable dog shit?
All I have to say is, all aboard!
Cowabunga fucking piece of dog shit. Cowabunga fucking piece of dog shit coming out my ass. My god, that Vern Troyer fucking thing you posted in the thing. Good lord, what the fuck?
Made me want a sandwich.
Dude, that's horrifying. Cool. Well, until
right,
next time, guys. 6 o'clock next Saturday. We'll see you then, and hopefully the movie won't be as shit as this one was.
See ya.
See ya.